Hi, I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime Magazine. I'm here today with Avahai Ben Yosef, co-founder and chief technology officer at Simulate, the developers of a breach and attack simulation platform that lets you protect your organization at the click of a button. To learn more about Simulate, visit simulate.com. Welcome, Avahai. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for having me.
So your company has a great reputation, Simulate. We've been following you. I know the company was founded by an elite team of former IDF intelligence officers. Tell us about your background and the background of your co-founders.
Sure. So I'll kind of share a little bit about myself. I've served in the Israeli intelligence, in the technological unit for around 4 years, something like that. This is definitely where I kicked off my journey, in the cybersecurity field and also, in the technology in general. So definitely was my starter and where I kind of started my journey in the arena. Then I also worked as a pen tester and as a security researcher in a consulting firm, a pen testing company here in Israel for around 5 years. And that's also where, I understood the market a little bit more and the needs. And that also gave us the idea to actually found Simulate. Having said that, that's also where I kind of recruited a couple of my guys from different places and areas that I worked in Israel, and I managed to pinpoint, get different employees that we have in Simulate with very, very interesting skill set that they sometimes like very unique skill set.
So for the CISOs who are watching, and a lot of them are with Fortune 500, Global 2000 companies, large enterprises, give them a 30,000-foot view of the Simulate platform. Exactly what does it do?
Sure. So the aim of the platform, and it also relates, by the way, to our origin as founders, and that's everything that we did was to, we did pen tests and security posture assessments, and that's why we started off to actually get the idea and understand that there is a need in the market to be independent when you actually want to understand your security posture and how well fit you are in that, in the market, in the arena, in everywhere, in your industry. And we've actually created a platform that also follows the MITRE ATT&CK framework, because the MITRE ATT&CK framework was also a very good reference that we had that gave lots of credibility to techniques that we as attackers, as pen testers, white hackers, were using for decades to bypass security controls, to penetrate organizations, to show gaps, to enlighten gaps, and really give a CISO actually the right tool set and the right mechanism and summaries to make proper decisions, understands he's where he at, is he in a good place, is he in a bad place, what he needs to do to make himself in a good place, where he needs to go. And definitely one of the uniquenesses of the platform that we have created is super easy to deploy. We have clients kicking off in a matter of minutes and starting to get very insightful insights.
So super easy is something that CISOs like to hear. We're in the midst of a labor crisis. A lot of companies, especially in healthcare, in manufacturing, they're trying to play catch up. So talk to us a little bit about the skill sets that these companies need to actually use the Simulate platform.
Sure, and then I'll be honest, that's a very good question, because whenever you think about that lack of skill set, from the human resource side, this is something that we took into consideration when we were when we were building the platform. So we did manage to make it a very easy to use platform. I'm not talking just about deployment. I'm talking about automating the actual simulations that you want to run on. And when I'm saying that, it means that you have a lot of out of the box scenarios that you can simply try and go, just click on one button that will be good to go, which means that you don't need an offensive skill set to operate the platform, because it can be as closed as a closed box, and all you have to do is just click on a couple of buttons and you'll get results that your regular SOC analyst, blue teamer will definitely understand those reports and what needs to be done. I will also say that as we kind of close that box, we also gave the ability to open that box and make it an open platform and an open framework. So if I will say a more highly skilled red teamer maybe, can be a purple teamer, it can also be a blue teamer that finds it applicable. He can take an open box and go crazy with that as well.
So I have a question about what clients can expect when they're using the Simulate platform. So in a large enterprise, you're simulating breaches and cyber attacks. When you run an assessment for a client, how confident can they be that you're finding all of the possible scenarios?
Sure. So they can be very, very confident. Okay, I would say, as I think it will always. I'm always. I don't like to use the phrase 100%, because there is no 100%, but they can be extremely confident in understanding, because what they will see is that we can find lots of different gaps that can be remediated very easily. You will see that also all around the world that attackers are leveraging sometimes very simple misconfiguration. It's not always that crazy bits and bytes that you hear. It's most of the time will be very simple stuff that can be remediated pretty quickly. And those are like I'll say the low-hanging fruit those attackers are looking for to exploit easily. And they will see lots of different remediation and gaps that they can find. Not only that, everything also relates to the MITRE ATT&CK framework as well. And that's why it's there to give us that frame of the adversary techniques and tactics they're using. And a good example would be, there are different techniques throughout the MITRE ATT&CK framework that are one technique or two techniques that can be implemented in thousands of different variations. Just one technique can be 10,000s of different variations of implementation of that technique. And you will also see on our platform the prioritization of the most important techniques, and how did we and the fact that we went deep into the implementation of the most important techniques. And that's maybe also one of the key advantages we offer to our customers.
So you're talking about security gaps. Give us some examples of security gaps that Simulate finds in your client environments.
Sure. And before I also give a couple of examples, that's also a nice thing about that, because our platform is like very comprehensive, and we do mention that we cover the full kill chain, as we like to call it. We're also referring our kill chain to industry acceptable frameworks like the Lockheed Martin and again the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and that's very nice. I will say insights that we can give throughout that chain. We also show it on the platform in a way of a map, from point zero of the attack, when, for example, he's starting to recon, to kind of use recon capabilities to get some details, for example, of different servers that are online and they might not be having the right patches, and they are potentially a point of breach, into how can an attacker send an email with malicious content to a mailbox to a user inside the organization. Will that bypass all of your security controls that you had? Then going forward, maybe once that email is in, is my internal security will actually contain that malware if it lands? Those are, I like to call them like different layers of controls. If one layer of control fails, you want to make sure that your next layer of control actually keep up with the task. And that's how we actually built the platform as well. So again, the next layer will be your infrastructure, your how you've built your infrastructure, how are you managing it? So if it is a specific port that is open to the firewall and exposing your most critical VLAN, we will find it and we will show you if we've managed to reach that specific crown jewel. All the way to getting data out. Can a nurse in a hospital send very confidential data outside to the internet? Can that happen, or are you blocking? We'll test that as well.
So the security gaps themselves, how are they created?
Sure, and that's also a good question. So I will break it down to a couple of answers. So first of all, our knowledge. So we definitely have lots of pen testing background, and we've implemented that background in the platform all the time. That's where we started off. We have run those tests. We've seen our clients. When we did it manually, we've seen them surprised every time we find a very light, stupid thing that they were shocked that can happen on their side, and we just automated that and implemented that in the platform. So we do rely on our internal research, which are, as we mentioned, is a very comprehensive and well-trained research and pen testers. But we also follow what's going on in the world. We're not blind. We also have security analysts, And whenever a new attack pops up, we'll immediately take that, break it down, and relevant techniques will be added to the platform in a matter of days.
So I have a really important question for you. People are listening. I mean, Simulate is something that's going to be very interesting to security leaders. They're looking at the dashboard behind you. They want to sit behind it, but they're invested into vulnerability management platforms and other tools. What does the integration look like?
That's a very, it really is an interesting question because today, I think these days, the cybersecurity ecosystem is even more important than the individual solution. And that's why we have integrated with different concepts of cybersecurity controls, like you've mentioned vulnerability management, and we believe that they will be the vulnerability management are our first point of contact, because what we bring is the simulation into the side. And if you actually cross correlate the finding that Simulate finds with the actual management of the vulnerabilities, you can get higher insights, basically giving the vulnerabilities a next layer of insights, saying you are vulnerable. Yes or no? Are you actually vulnerable? Does your security controls are compensating to that vulnerability? Yes or no? Because that will be a next layer. And the vulnerability management is definitely where we can bring that value. Endpoint security solutions, for example, EDR, or any detection solution that the customers always have, can get lots of different integrations, which will give them lots of value by simulating attacks and actually showing them popping up under security controls, under the detection controls. And when they cross-reference, it's like a game. You play a game of blue team, red team. But instead of, you own that blue team, you have all of those analysts looking at those controls that's supposed to, be a funnel into a detection solution. You actually have, the red teamers, the automated one that we give them, that can actually show them how is that funnel working? Is that funnel actually flowing in the right manner, so the analyst, in a real time, if a real attack will happen, can the analyst actually detect it as fast as possible, because the insights he got from his controls are as optimized as possible.
Now, do you think most large enterprises are actually simulating attacks? I mean, it seems like something that every large enterprise should be doing, but are they? Is this a best practice or not really?
I will tell you that. So definitely it's a best practice. I will say that large enterprises, not only that they probably has done similar things manually,
Mm-hmm.
before solution like ours popped up. I'm sure that they've done manually these kind of things, and I'm not sure about the rate. Maybe they've done it once a month, and maybe they thought they need more resources to do it more frequently. But that's exactly what we're replacing. That's exactly what we are. I will say complementing and contributing and enhancing. So instead of doing it like in a very small scale once a month with a product like Simulate, you can do it in a very large scale once a day.
So the world is in a very scary place right now. We have the COVID-19 pandemic, and we can't lose sight of the fact that there's a cybercrime epidemic that is even greater and more threatening to society. In 2015, cybercrime damages cost the world roughly $3 trillion. That's US dollars. And we're looking at a cost of about $6 trillion by the end of next year, 2021. So looking at that timeline, things are getting worse, not better. Where is Simulate going over the next 3 to 5 years, as you try to help companies keep up with this expanding threat?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the numbers are huge, as you're saying. And, our vision is really to keep on what we're going, and I will say it in a very abstract way. Whatever you're protecting, whatever attackers are leveraging, we'll be there to simulate that even before. That's mainly our main goal. We really are here to give our clients the ability to simulate whatever attackers know how to leverage and think about, and they will be able to do it before the attackers do it for them. But even if we can go into little specifics, there are lots of aspects into cybersecurity. Okay, at the end of the day, it's a very vast, I will say, world of cybersecurity. It's not a very, and there are still points, and everybody's going to cloud and different places, and at each time a new IT, I will say, idea pops up like cloud, it opens up new gaps and new places where you need to think, how secured are you? And every time, and I will believe even in 5 to 5 years, there will be new innovations that will take us to new places, like Kubernetes started off, and all of those places. there will be new gaps that pops up, and we'll be there to, enlighten those gaps as part of the process of actually opening and going to those new directions. So that's definitely our vision, to be there. And one other kind of also important aspect into our vision is to really, again, like we talked earlier about cooperating with the ecosystem to make sure that the remediation process is as seamless as possible going forward.
Well, Simulate is a very hot company we're following. We were excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us today, Avihai, and I hope you can come back on and do this again.
Invite me again and I'll join. My pleasure. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime Magazine. Joining me today was Avihai Ben Yosef, co-founder and chief technology officer at Simulate, the developers of a breach and attack simulation platform that lets you protect your organization at the click of a button. To learn more about our sponsor, Simulate, visit simulate.com. You can follow all of our media at cybercrimemagazine.com.